Bonjour, everyone. Hi. This is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable right here on Facebook at the Star Nation Organization's main fan page. Today is Thursday, June 13th. Yes, here in Tacoma, Wisconsin. It's a beautiful day, but it's kind of cool. It's only like 63 degrees, something like that. But you know what? Blue skies and sunshine. Can't complain one bit about the temperature. No way. It's beautiful out. And so we hung outside just for a little while this morning with George. Today is George's monthly birthday. Today he turns 11 months old. I know, almost a year. Georgie was born in July, and we picked him up in September. And so he's here with me this afternoon, and he's laying underneath the table, holding space for us. Yeah. So I don't know if we're going to celebrate this evening or not. We're kind of busy getting prepared for Polly Joe's class here this weekend. Paul is such a big help when it comes to classes here. So we got to do some sprucing up on the outside of the building and like mowing the lawn and that kind of thing. Yeah, and then he what he does is he's going to actually run and get the supplies for the meet and greet tomorrow night. And yeah, so it's fun stuff. So today we're going to do what we always do every show practically, right? Is we're going to like and share the show. And you know what? I better plug in my phone. I'm running on vapors. Okay, that's only if it was like petrol, right? Gasoline. When it's battery, what does that mean? All right, so I'm going to go to our live stream, and I'm going to like and share. And I invite you to do the same. Even if you're watching the video recording of this show, it's helpful if you would also do the same, like and share. Even if you just share with one person, that's big. Okay. Or if you want to do something a little bit, so much easier, and that is just save it to your news feed. That's even better. So I'm just going to remind my friends that I'm live streaming. Well, that's the weirdest thing. I was going to hit my quick keys and they disappeared. I don't know where they went. Technology. Oh, they're back. I don't know where my quick keys went, but they're back. Please join us. There we go. I'm going to post that. And I think I'm going to send it over to our closed groups because Stephanie, who usually does this for us, she is out ill today. So we're going to share it over to both the radio network and the academy groups. And academy. Let's see. I don't know if that went or not. Oh well, we're going to get this done. Just reminding them that I'm live streaming right now. There we go. I'm going to post that and turn down my sound. There. That should do it. I think. Sometimes I wonder. Oh my gosh. There we are. I'm sorry, guys. It's just taking me a little bit longer because it won't let me post to two groups at one time. And I don't understand why that is, but because usually I can. And we're almost there. There we go. Done. Yay. Yay. All right. So today's Thursday. And Usually it's a pretty quiet day around my house, usually, because I'm busy trying to get things wrapped up for the week and get the shows promoted and that kind of thing. But this morning, my house is a little bit like Grand Central Station because we had some visitors in. Yeah. So Rob is saying it's rainy where he is. Oh, man. We're supposed to have rain this weekend. Oh, hey, Mervin's here. Hello, Mervin. Mervin Kelly's here. He's one of our live stream show hosts, Mervin Kelly is. He's the host of From Star to Stone. And his show on Tuesday, he has a monthly show, Tuesday mornings here in the U.S. at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, because Mervin's from the U.K. He's from England. Hey, Mervin, it's good to have you here. And Jocelyn is here too. Hello, Jocelyn. And Jackie's here. Hello, Jackie. Good to have you here. Anybody hear from Rochelle lately? I didn't see her yesterday. And Samantha's here too. Hey, Samantha. Good to have you here. Hey, look who just showed up. Stephanie's here. Still down, but shared and will be listening. Oh, really? Okay, I just shared to the two closed groups. Yeah, because I thought maybe you'd still be recuperating. Yeah. Hey, Maggie, good to have you here. It's a good one. All right, so the cards today are very interesting. What I should probably do is show you, for those who don't know, right? For those who don't know, we are using a new deck this month, and it's called The Spirit of the Wheel. And the author is Linda Iwashina. And the illustrator is Jody Bergsman. Jody Bergsman. And so they're from British Columbia. So we'll be looking at the medicine wheel from their perspective, from the indigenous people from that part of North America. And I say that because the medicine wheel, yes, there is one wheel, but there's many different ways to interpret it and to use it. And so we're going to be learning a bit about the indigenous people from that part of Canada and the northwestern part of the United States. So we'll see some similarities, and we may see some differences as well. But in any case, it's going to be a learning experience, but it fosters. Actually, no, that's not a good word. How about this one? Ignites. It ignites a spiritual conversation. Yeah. And we've been having some pretty good conversations here this past week. And so I'm hoping today is no different as you see the first card that came. Okay, so the first card is about trust. Yeah. First card is about trust. And the key words that are on this card about trust is personal space, openness, and faith. Personal space, openness, and faith. And that is a golden eagle on this card. Yeah, and it talks about the spirit path of the south, the southern part of the wheel. And it's very, very Mayan feeling to it, for me anyway. Some people may say Aztec, but it feels very Mayan to me. Yeah, but notice that the golden eagle is not looking at us directly on, right? We're seeing his profile or her profile. Yeah. Yeah. It's number 36 in the layout of the medicine wheel that's used by Linda Iwashina. I even like the artwork in the corner because we see the eagle in flight. You know, I wonder if we're dealing with the southern energy, this could actually be a condor. Could be. That would kind of go along with the artwork, I think. And 36 in numerology is 9. 9 is the number of completion. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So personal space, openness, and faith. And compared to the cards that we've gotten earlier this week, those were about the oneness and with the creator and co-creating and change and the leap of faith into ourselves, right? Yeah. So this card is the energy around it is different. Stephanie is saying that her front door just opened up wide. And I would imagine nobody was there in the physical world, right? Mm-hmm. Rob says, I would keep listening if my phone would stop ruminating. Ruminating. I love it. Ringing. Well, you must be busy. Because we have a full moon coming up this weekend too, don't we? Some of that energy out there is very different than what we've been in. You can feel that shifting of that energy. And so with this particular card, trust, the spirit path of the South. It's about your personal space, openness, and faith. Yeah. Very interesting. All right, let's see what the author has to say about this particular card. She says that each of us has an area around us we consider our personal space. And in our culture here in the United States overall, right, our personal space is that 3 feet around us, right? We get kind of anxious, it's a good word, when somebody encroaches in on that personal space that you don't know or that you don't know well, right? What's that old term is keep the arm's length, right? At arm's length. That's our personal space. And in other cultures, personal space might be a little bit closer, just basically rubbing shoulders kind of thing. And they find that fine, it's okay. Their personal space is much closer. In other cultures, their personal space might even be wider than the 3 feet. So have you ever considered that? Have you ever considered what is your comfortable personal space? The space around you that you claim as your personal space, how big is it? How close or how far away is that outer edge? And give you a moment to consider that, right? And even if we don't, make the public announcement, this is my personal space. Generally speaking, as two-leggeds, because we're still a part of nature, right? Is that even if it's we're not consciously aware of it, we tend to sense another person's personal space. Yeah, some people we kind of give them a wide berth, and others, that we can give them that a little bit closer, right, pass. And so, what is your personal space? Have you considered that? Consciously thought about that? Yeah. And Maggie's saying yes, she has. Depends on the area. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. If it's someplace that you're familiar with, you've been to before, you feel safe there, your personal space might be a little bit closer. If it's someplace you haven't been before, or that it's not a very safe space, that you might have your personal space might be a little bit bigger, right? That's a good point. Thank you, Maggie. And Rob is saying, don't touch Americans. This is advice given to foreign tourists. Yeah, well, I can see some truth in that, right? For those of us that are huggers, Yeah, sometimes we get people feeling uncomfortable because we're encroaching on their personal space, especially when we don't know them and we're going to give them a hug anyway. Have you ever done that? You can see it on their face, and in their body language. It's like they get all tight, and it's like, oh, okay, we got to back up just a little bit. So being respectful of someone else's personal space, right? Yeah. And Stephanie is saying, my comfortable personal space has almost always been skin contact. Funny how I live in a place where my arm space is a bare minimum. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. And I think that for those people who maybe have traveled a bit outside of their region, because even personal space can be somewhat different even across the United States. You know, um, like in New England, maybe it's a little bit more conservative, I think. Um, and you tend to really notice that they're truly not really huggy over there. But on the West Coast in California, in certain places, most definitely you're more closer is the personal space. Yeah, it's interesting, the regional stuff. And if you've traveled outside the United States, and you can see the cultural differences in some of those places, right? Especially if it's a mix of different countries, citizens of different countries, different cultures. You can kind of see that. Growing up in Wisconsin Dells, it's a very touristy town. So I was exposed to people of different countries. And working down at Stand Rock Indian Ceremonial, I was an usher. I helped babysit 2,000 people a night, and um, and people watching, and how the differences in the different cultures, and when you have to sit really close to somebody in a tight space, the bleachers. It was a natural amphitheater, right? And they built the bleachers or the seating into the amphitheater. And so there were long rows of seating, and there wasn't any individual seats. Okay. So sometimes you were sitting really close to somebody, a complete stranger that you've never known before, come from a different country. And even in the front and the back, you had just enough room, maybe to cross your legs, but not really, right? And so if somebody had long legs sitting behind you and they did that, or you'd get the knee in the back kind of thing. And so having that close proximity, as a teenager, watching how people would react to this, right? Some not so good. And some, they were able to accommodate for just that period of time for the show. Got to know their neighbors in that seating area quite well. Yeah. Let's see. Nellie says nobody gave me that advice. Well, now you got it. Now you have it, Mervyn. Now you have it. Samantha says my personal space is a handshake. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's a handshake. So it's a little bit closer than the 3 feet. So it's kind of the in between, right? Maybe it's a 1.5 feet or so. Yeah. And Jackie says, for me, it's different with different people's energy. Yeah. When we're consciously aware, right, of energy and the feeling and our intuition, there's some people that you just meet and you feel like you've known them already, right? And probably past life stuff. And sometimes that's good. It's like meeting an old friend. And sometimes it's not, because maybe that past life stuff wasn't really comfortable. Maybe you're the one burned at the stake for being a witch, or maybe you're the one doing the burning, and so you meet this person and you don't know why you don't like them. You just don't. I don't trust them, and you don't even know them, right? Yeah, so reading the energy. It's a good one. Thanks, Jackie, for sharing that one. And Stephanie is saying, there is an awesome restaurant in Austin, awesome Austin, that has all the tables set up in long dining hall rows. You meet so many people when you get closer. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you ever go to one of those places and they call it family dining? And so you have a big table, and so you might be sharing this larger table with a couple of different people that you don't know, and they put the food kind of in the center, and it's please pass this or please pass that. Yeah, that's another one. That you can see how some people, how comfortable or uncomfortable they are with that. And Rob is saying it's not a hard and fast rule, but I've seen YouTube videos stating it's good advice with strangers. Stranger danger, right? Stranger danger. Hey, Pat. Good to have you here. This is the first card that was drawn, Pat. It's trust. The spiritual path of the South. And the key words is personal space, openness, and faith. Right. And we were just talking about the personal space. I asked the question about if we had ever consciously considered what your comfortable personal space is, right? And I have to agree. With Maggie about it depends. It depends. I'm a hugger. Okay, I'm the only person in my family amongst my brothers and I that hug and comfortable with hugging. And so, yeah, sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's not. Even with family members, right? I have a niece that I didn't realize that she was not comfortable with people hugging her, and I just, she was my niece. I just gave her a hug, and later, months and months and months later, she tells me how uncomfortable that is for her. And so now I just don't go up and hug her just to hug her. I greet her and I said, "Is it okay to give you a hug?" And if she says no, it's like I don't try not to take it personally. And there are other times she's fine with it. But so when you're a hugger, you really do have to be kind of self-aware about how other people might receive it, right? Yeah. Pat saying perfect. Exactly. Robin says, most Brits don't really need the advice, but some European cultures do. Yeah, like I said, even here in the United States, we're not exactly the same all the way across the board about that personal space. Yeah. All right, let's see what else the author has to say about this. Okay, so each of us has an area around us we consider our personal space. Once violated, our capacity to trust and love becomes compromised. We pull back from others, widening the parameter of space we use to protect ourselves. If we have had the sad misfortune of being repeatedly abused or violated, then the process of learning to trust again can be a long and painful one. Unfortunately, as long as we have on that armor, then we can never fully love. So when we're trying to self-protect, when you've been violated or abused in any way, and you haven't healed from that, that we put this, our personal space becomes much wider, right? We're very cautious about who we allow into that personal space. And so they're calling it armor. So that when we put that armor on to self-protect, we tend to even keep out those people who won't harm us, right? Yeah. And I can understand that, though. I can understand that. Feeling the wanting, needing to feel safe, right? So I can see that. I can understand why somebody would have that that armor. We're going to put that in quotes. That personal armor on, but it also keeps out others who do love you, and so you hold them at more than arm's length away, right? Yeah. And I know that there's many people in Star Nation's community who are in the process of healing that kind of trauma, um, and supporting them and cheering them on. It's like, any step toward healing that is a huge step, and supporting them, encouraging them, right? And sometimes we have to be patient too, right? Yeah. And not rush somebody into the stripping away of the armor. Because that in itself could throw somebody into a healing crisis. We don't want to do that, right? As healers, as energy workers, um, much like who said about reading the energy? Was that Maggie? I think it was Maggie. Is to read the energy of the person, right? And not to push them, and yet not to also give them the opportunity to reach out. Wow, that's big, right? It's big. All right. Mervin's saying, if you really wanted to, you can expand the space around you in such a way that people don't enter it if you don't want them to. Yeah, exactly. It's your bubble, right? In the Merkaba, in our energy body around us, our field, there is a part of our Merkaba. Our Merkaba is the star tetrahedron, and that stretches out to 55 feet from center. Okay, so we have a huge field when you have an activated Merkaba. But the Leonardo sphere, the bubble that we have around us, is a little bit wider than 3 feet. You have to really stretch to get to the to feel the edge of it, right? And that is our another layer of protection that we have. And so we can actually have our Merkaba work with us to be able to either go unseen or to have programs in, right, for certain energies not to be able to come through unless it's for our highest good. And most of the time when that happens, it's because there's a life lesson attached to it. So you're right. I agree with you, Mervyn, is that we can intentionally do that. We can intentionally do that. Yeah. The thing is that, we can be selective, and it's okay to be selective. It's just that when you're looking to have a partner in your life, right? A significant other, somebody that you love and somebody who loves you, right? And you would like to do this, but you, maybe because you have the trauma that you're dealing with, right? But you keep people out. So you get kind of, sometimes some people get caught in this kind of loop, is like, come here, go away, I want to have this in my life, but I don't want to let anybody in. I'm afraid to let somebody in, kind of thing. And so I can see that being not just frustrating, but it can be debilitating, right? Because you think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be loved? Or why are they not attracted to me? Kind of thing. And yet you have this invisible shield up so that when somebody does come close, they bump into it, right? And so you're not really accessible to them. Yeah. So Rob is saying a stranger kissing me would not be well received. Yeah, that is really personal, isn't it? Although, in the French culture, the kissing on both cheeks kind of thing. So I think that you just have to find where you're comfortable at. And no matter where that is, it's okay. It's okay. At least that's my 2 cents. Rob says, I have utilized that in the past, but I'm sure my technique was different. I was also 20 at the time. Yeah. What's your technique? On how to keep somebody out intentionally? Yeah. I think that whether you're consciously aware of it or not, working with your spiritual team, those that help you with protection, and in making the very conscious request to put the protective circle around, right? And Pat is saying, I'm a hugger too. I have a grandson on the autistic spectrum. I always ask. It's so important to let him know that he has a choice. And if he says no, I still love him. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And and not to take it personally, because, yeah, not to take it personally. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to do that, when it's somebody that you innately love. And especially when they're young, right? And you have this feeling of unconditional love for them, and then they reject it. It's like, what did I just do, right? Thing is that at that point it's not. You have to ask yourself, I think, why did I react that way? What was that trigger about? What am I supposed to learn from that, right? Rather than taking it personally. I know, kind of hard to do sometimes, though. All right. So goes on to say, the author goes on to say that receiving and giving love is part of our very essence and is needed for our survival and our growth. To live without love or trust leads to a cold and lonely existence. We all need someone we can trust and share our heart with. Begin to develop a relationship of trust with yourself and with the Great Spirit. So basically, Spirit is telling us that, where does trust begin? Trust begins with us. When we can trust ourselves, when we can trust our own intuition, when we can trust ourselves, it's, I was going to say, it can be an easier leap of faith into trusting the Creator. It can be. Now, the reason why I say that with that qualifier can be is because I know that there's some people who have experienced the trauma that they've experienced has been or was quite vicious, and so to be able and then they wonder, why did that happen to me? Why me? Right? And then they start questioning about spirit and where was my team to protect me? Why would God let that happen to me? And so to put your trust in spirit may be kind of a stretch, a little bit of a leap, or maybe a lot of a leap, right? Yeah. And so, through this card, we're talking about personal space, openness, and faith. Is that the suggestion here is to begin with yourself is to get to know yourself really well. Learn how to trust yourself in your wholeness, not in the bits and pieces and the fractions, but in your whole being, right? So we're talking about our higher self, our soul or spirit self, our conscious self, which some would call, the id or the ego, right? Well, the id's the inner child. A little Freudian stuff there. But to really trust our whole being. And sometimes that takes some time to work through it, right? And to get the healing in place and the integration of that healing. And, in my world, I'm a very optimistic person, always have been. I like walking on the sunny side of the street. I've been called Pollyanna more times than I can count. And so, as long as we keep the door open to the possibility of remembering how to trust ourselves again, and then once we're at a comfortable place with that, and then bringing into the conscious level how we trust spirit, how do we trust the Creator and our spiritual team, right? How do we trust those that are in our inner circle? Do you have an inner circle? Because sometimes that is kind of a tough one too. Is allowing, who do you allow in and when, right? Yeah. And so, for me, the way I'm feeling about this card and the information is that there's no right or no wrong steps to it, as long as you're taking that conscious awareness of your own healing of your emotional and mental traumas, right? Yeah. And it's okay. It's okay to have a close personal space. And it's okay to widen that space given certain circumstances, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now is the time to surrender and release your doubts and anxieties to the higher purpose. If we can have faith and trust in the Creator's greater plan, then we can begin the process of healing our wounds and gently, over time, expose our true self to others. Look at the areas of your life where you are holding yourself back due to mistrust. Take that first step by learning to love and accept yourself for who you really are. Okay, I'm going to read that one sentence because this is a sentence that jumped out at me. Is to look at the areas of your life where you're holding yourself back due to mistrust. Okay, because that's kind of a big one. Because at some point in our lives, we have been, or had felt like we have been lied to, right? Misled. We've all experienced that in some degree. And so whoever has been on the other side of that, we don't trust them. What's that old saying? I don't trust them as far as I can see them, right? In other words, I don't trust them at all. Yeah. And if you don't see them, you're wondering where'd they go. So, so that mistrust. And just to take it, just to notice it, do I have anything like that? Is there anyone in my life, singular or plural, more than one or not, that I mistrust, and why? Because that will be a little bit of a clue as to what you're still needing to heal, right? Yeah. To heal, release, forgive, any of those, right? Or all of those. So this card, we started out with, the trust, right? And we started talking about that personal space. And now we're really zoning in on that, on the openness and the faith. So the mistrust. Do you have mistrust? And as light workers, energy workers, sometimes what we do is we gloss over that because, we don't want to seem like we don't know what we're doing or that we're less than better than some other light worker, and so we don't, it's kind of like not wanting to share that mistrust because somebody might think less of you as a light worker or an energy worker if you mistrust someone. But you know what? This is where we begin to trust ourselves, our intuition, right? Our intuition. Listening to that part of yourself that tells you that person, you don't really trust them as much as you think you should, right? Is to be kind and cordial and that sort of thing, but you don't necessarily have to trust them with your inner feelings and your heart, kind of thing. So, but that is really up to you. Yeah, Rob's saying as far as you can throw them. Yeah. Because either way it's said, you're going to, yeah, you don't trust this person. Right? And so really this is about being consciously aware of it. And is there anything in or around it that needs healing and releasing? So if there's a trigger involved, right, along with the mistrust, is to heal enough and release enough so that those triggers don't do anything anymore. They're powerless, right? Yeah. So the author includes a prayer with each card, all right? And here's the prayer for this card. And this is the first card that came today. It says, help me, Creator, to surrender to the light of your love. Once I learn to love and value myself, I'll be willing to accept into my life only that which is for my highest good. So you're open to the opportunities that are for your highest good, rather than closing the door to all of it. Or having a filter that's so finely meshed that hardly anything can get through, right? Yeah. Trust in personal space, openness and faith. I was just looking at the time. I have to remember, Ed Langdon's show is on right after ours. Okay. So his starts at the top of the hour. So I want to make sure I give you guys enough time, right? That if you want to catch his show, that you have enough time to grab a beverage or run to the bathroom or something like that. Now here's the second card. Stone of the Ancestors. I like this picture. It's about the higher good, guidance, and choice. Right? Stone of the Ancestors. It's number 14 in the placement of the stones on the medicine wheel. So it's a 5, right? And 5s is always about change. It's right in the middle. So it's it can be kind of uncomfortable place to be. But with the Stone of the Ancestors, it's the author says, listen carefully to the sacred messages around you. When the spirit of the ancestors called you, there is much at stake. The Stone of the Ancestors card teaches you that every decision you make and every action you take either indirectly or directly affects another. It's like a pebble thrown into the water, forming ripples and spreading outwards. Think long and hard about choices you're contemplating and consider the consequences for your future. The ancestors help us distinguish what is worth holding on to and what we should be letting go of. If you have any doubts, call upon their ancient wisdom to help you to make the best choice possible. When your decisions carry a purpose beyond just yourself, you can be assured the ancestors will be pleased. That does not mean giving up what you want, but it does require thinking about the ripple effect before you toss that pebble in. Self-learning is truly a lifelong process, but much heartache and pain can be avoided if we think about the long-term effects and make our choices by listening to our higher self as well as the guidance of our ancestors. So with these two cards and what I just read is that, the ancestors, your ancestors are standing right beside you and right behind you. So if you're dealing with trust issues based on emotional traumas or mental traumas, they're asking you to seek their guidance because they're supporting you and asking you to, when you make the decision, whatever decision that is, to allow the healing to occur so that you can allow love into your life, right? And trust. That pebble that you put into that pool of water, what do you want to ripple out, right? If your decision is to allow the mistrust to be held close to you, that ripple that's what's going to get rippled out. So is if you make the choice to consciously heal, to consciously let go of whatever it is that's no longer needed, and allow love to flow into your life and trust, right? That's what's going to ripple out as well. So we have a choice to make. We have a choice. And the thing is that there's no time clock on it. You're not punching in and punching out on a time clock on this. It's all in divine timing. And as long as you make the decision that you want to heal and allow love into your life and to be able to trust yourself first and then others, that's always a good step. And that your decision does affect others around you. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a balance, isn't it? It's a balance. But I think Spirit is also letting us know that it's okay. Take the time that you need to heal. As long as you're doing the healing work for yourself, that's the important part. The important part is consciously allowing love to flow again and to trust yourself. Your ancestors survived for you to be here. That's what I always keep in mind. My ancestors, what they survived for me to be here. And so how do I want my life to affect others? How do I want that to be? Yeah. And so that's about consciously living, right? Consciously living. I think that this is, it gives us this particular card draw, I think, gives us the space to really take in for ourselves, consciously be aware of what our life is like. How do we guard ourselves? How do we let others in? When do we let them in? Do we let them in? And is that something that sustains you and supports you and allows you to grow? And if it's not, then do you want to heal enough to be able to really utilize the gifts that you came in with, right? Yeah. So, it gives us something to think about, right? Yeah. All right. So, this was kind of a big reading. It's got a lot of energy to it, and especially on this writing on that full moon coming energy, right? It's something to take in and see how that feels for you. So whatever resonated with you with these two cards is to embrace it. That's my suggestion. And then watch, sense, feel, or see how the energy is unfolding for you and where this information can be helpful, useful to you. And please know that there's many of us here in Star Nations that if you make the choice to do your healing work, that we'll be here to support you and to cheer you on. Even if you take baby steps, it's still a win. It's still a cheering you on, and wishing only the best for you. Okay, all right. If it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. There's always next week. So to let you know that I am not going to have a show on Sunday because the Spiritual Roundtable, we have live streams from Sunday to Thursday. But we have a class here at Star Nations Academy with Polly Jo LeBay. It's about awakening your true potential. It's about energetic healing, and so the class goes through Sunday, and so I'll be a little preoccupied with the class, and so I'll see you on Monday. Okay. All right. So next up is Ed Langdon in Life Wisdom with Ed Langdon. And Ed is talking all about and sharing with us about our beliefs around money. I just want to see if I've got that up. Yep, shifting your money energy is what he's calling it, shifting your money energy. And so he's going to be talking about that and doing some tapping to help us to do that shifting. And then he's going to do some channeling, the Ascended Masters who work with him. So if you have a question for the Ascended Masters going through Ed, you can always put it in the chat. But remember, the more detailed your question, the more detailed the answer, right? Okay. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you back here on Monday for the Spiritual Roundtable. Okay, Bama Mina. That means in Potawatomi, until we see each other again. Love you guys.